What's up, guys? So, today I had a thought about what are some of the things that in this country we agree on or we disagree on. And unfortunately, I couldn't really find what I was looking for because I guess I was just not searching hard enough. But if you're curious about where I'm going to be getting my questions from, it's linked in the description. And I happened to find this little reader document thing. And I was like, you know what? Since I like to answer questions, how about if I stream about it before I read ahead? And that way I can answer stuff without preparing myself for it. So that's what I'm going to do. I have no idea what the questions are going to be, so just let's dive into it. So, the first question is, how can you tell someone is really your friend? Honestly, I've never really thought about that all this time. Why? But if I were to explain my thought process as someone who hasn't really had that many friends throughout her life, I would say they don't lie to you, they respect you, they support you, they are always there on time if they promise to work with you on something. Like, particularly during my school years, it's like sometimes I would have after school dates with certain people to get math homework done and they were just not there on time, so that could get annoying. I would imagine that if someone is your friend, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to respect your time. So I guess that's something that I would say makes someone a good friend. Their ability to share. Are you someone who keeps stuff to themselves all the time, or do you like to share? Are you excited about sharing stuff with others and stuff? I would imagine that you only share things with a certain degree of urgency if it's someone you really respect. Because I know I don't go out of my way to get stuff for people. So maybe that's a factor to consider. Um, Honestly, that's all I can think about. You guys feel free to contribute. But yeah, I've never really thought about that before. Is it possible to have a race with others that is fair? A race? I guess if you mean a race in a competitive aspect, you know what? I have thought about it. Specifically, when I hear about the Olympics or any sports games, I'm like, there's so much stuff that you have to consider. Like the age of the person, the shape of the person, how many injuries this person has sustained before, the diet of this person, how this person metabolizes certain things. So, can you truly ever find someone who is at the same level as you when it comes to fitness so that you can be accurately measured? Um, and then, if it's talking about a race in politics, I mean, we're all different. So, what are we looking for when it comes to that one? But, anyways, that's my interpretation of that question. What is the difference between a secret and a lie? Holy shit, I've never thought about that before either. Huh, that's interesting. Um, well, I think that a secret is something that is temporarily kept to yourself until the most opportune time comes up. And then a lie is to deliberately, what is it, deceive someone with the intent at you benefiting somehow, and then the other person is unaware and on top of that used. So I think that secrets do not mean that you are lying. Like if someone asks you something and you promised someone that you would keep it a secret, if in that instance you say you don't know, I would interpret it as you don't want to get involved because it's not your business to be divulging that information, especially if it belongs to someone else. So, you guys tell me if you disagree or agree with my answer because I thought it's interesting. I never thought about that. Is there ever a time when it is wrong to steal? Or, sorry, is there ever a time when it is not wrong to steal? I mean, this is an odd question because when you think about it, everything that exists in the planet, I believe that belongs to us, like every single living being. But just because society and mankind developed laws and rules to like supposedly control how much of a resource someone can get, it's just odd to me. But I also understand that the stuff that we enjoy does not simply grow on trees. Like everything that makes your life comfortable doesn't really grow on a tree, as in, that's my way of saying you cannot just go to some random spot and there it is. It gets grown, it gets made, it gets produced by nature. So in a sense, we are all thieves if we're thinking about it on a broader scale. Like, we all steal from the planet. But, yeah. Um, I want to say that you should not be condemned for stealing if you have a necessity, but at the same time, don't we all have necessities? Would that make it okay to be going around stealing from others and disrespecting others' resources? So, on that one, I want to say that because it is a value, a trait, a character trait, like, what's the word that I'm looking for? But, anyways, it's negative, it's negatively perceived for you to be a thief. So I would say that there's never a time when it's okay to steal. Like, even if you are desperate and have needs, I mean, it's not right to steal. So I would say it's not okay to steal ever. But you guys let me know if you agree or disagree with that one. I'm not really sure that I can stick to my opinion for too long with that one. Because just like with everything, the more that you think about something, the more that you can counter what point it is that you're making. But that's interesting. I'll have to think about that one a little more. But when I think about people who struggle and difficult situations and having your life endangered, it's like I don't want to be mean to the person who has a need. They're trying to survive. But at the same time, because I was taught that it's wrong to do such a thing, I just cannot tolerate it and side with it, regardless of circumstance. So you guys let me know on that one. Let's see. Where's the next question? I have to exit out of it for a second, so let me wait for it to load. Fantastic. This thing says that it cannot open that page anymore. Why? Is there any reason why? Okay, there we go. Is there. Okay, at what age do we start thinking? I want to say you start thinking as soon as you can respond to your surroundings. So, what I mean by that is if you can hear someone's voice and react to it, you're thinking about it. Your senses are at play. If you have needs like, I am hungry, so I need to get food, that happens like as soon as you're born, pretty much. For you to start thinking, I think, is something that happens since day one. But if you're asking about when can you handle complex thoughts, I would say that around the age of 3 or 4. And what makes me say that is those are the ages when you are learning your language, you're learning to communicate, and learning a language is pretty much what's going to enable you to carry out conversations and inherit the knowledge of the people who are grown and have been alive for some time. So I want to say that critical thinking needs to be developed and encouraged. And I want to say that at least by the age of 4, you have done some critical thinking. But of course, we cannot hold you to the standard of a grown adult. But I think that thinking in general, when it comes to more structured things between the ages of 3 and 4, only because of language. Because I think everyone's language is important. Like, whatever language it is that you are exposed to, that's what's going to determine what information you have access to. Like, individuals who grow up in, say, let's see, like Italy or Greece, they have their own language. So, whatever it is that they have originally experienced and written in their language and it has not been told again outside of that, I will never know about it. So, it's kind of a tricky one if you think about it, but I want to say that complex thought by age 4. Is it possible to be happy all the time? On the note of happiness, I think that as long as you have defined who you are and what you want out of life, you can live a satisfied and fulfilled life, even if it's difficult. Because for me personally, like my life is definitely far from perfect. But even in the moments when I have been down, depressed, miserable, which all of those things are emotions, there is this side of me that can remain positive no matter what. Now, is positivity the same thing as happiness? Well, what does happiness mean? Because I find that everyone has a different definition of what makes them happy, but universally, there is stuff that tends to make people happy everywhere that you go to. We like to have a supportive family. We like to have great relationships. We like to have jobs where we do not get bored. We like to make money. So, when it comes to being happy all the time, deep down, I can be a happy person even if I'm not fulfilled and I'm extremely frustrated in all aspects of life because I'm someone who likes to have fun. I like to turn everything into a game. So I don't think that if I did not have a joyful side to my persona, to my spirit, then there's no way that I could be sitting here talking about this right now. And there's no way that I would have survived my adolescence. And there are days in which I'm driving, and especially if I'm seeing a new place, I just stare at the horizon and I'm like, today, I'm not letting anything bring me down. I'm not letting anything stress me out. I will get done whatever it is that I can get done. And as long as everything that needs my attention, like my duties and responsibilities are taken care of, why not be happy? You know, like I have had issues with some people in my life, like members of my personal life. Are they ruining my life? Not at all. All I do is let them go or keep a distance. But I just like to focus on the good stuff that's happening to me and the stuff that I have control over. Do something with that, do something about it. And if there is something that I have no way of working on, or like I can't do anything about it, or I don't even know if something is going to happen, why worry about it? That's like anticipating your future. Sometimes it can be a double-edged sword. It's either exciting or it's frustrating. It's exciting if you know for a fact that stuff is going to happen and you know what to expect. And then it becomes frightening if it's something that you're sort of diving blindly into. So, how about if you just worry about whatever it is that you actually have control over? So, it's a pretty basic way of going about life, but some people struggle. So that's the way I perceive that. I'm gonna catch up with the comments since I see some activity. LFA says first, indeed. Around 2 or 3 infants start formulating complex thoughts. Interesting. I was not too far off. Typically, when they start walking and talking. Yeah, definitely, because those are activities that require for your brain to be functioning. So I feel like at around those ages is when doctors typically find the problems with children, like can they walk? Do they have motor problems? Do they have neurological problems? Are they having trouble feeding themselves or being fed? Whatever. So, yeah, I agree. Your brain isn't done forming until roughly 25, though. On that note, I have heard that geometry is something that the human brain actually cannot grasp until maybe age 24. Have you guys ever heard of about that, or was that my teacher just making shit up? Because I always felt like the older I became, anything that was challenging for me made a whole lot of sense, seemingly overnight, by just letting a couple of hours go by, a day go by. So, what do we owe that to? The fact that at the moment that I was learning, I had factors that were impeding my learning. Like, was I stressed out? Was I sleep deprived? Was I hungry? Was I bored? Was I cold? And all of a sudden, when those physical inconveniences are taken care of, I can grasp things. Or does it mean that in the time that it took me to go back to revisit that topic, I matured from it? So I want to say that, of course, both things are true, but which one outweighs the others? So, but I do think that for me, math, anything that's math, mathematic like that, when I expose myself to it and someone explains it to me nowadays, I am not struggling. But I wonder, maybe in my development years, I had a good education. I had teachers who showed me the way, and I did not necessarily retain all of it, but because I was exposed to it and I practiced some, now that I am older and I see it being used in life, I can connect the dots now, if that makes sense. Let's see. Where am I at? Hi, Jordan. I agree that you should cut your hair. Psych. Prepare to be disappointed because my long hair is staying. Happy Friday, Zamri. Happy Friday to you. Hell no, that hair is perfect. Exactly. You tell them, Knight. Tell them for me. You know, defend my hair. I'm very faithful of my future. My definition of a friend is one who will have your back without witness or hope of a reward, and also enjoys your company, though there are certain standards for conduct. You're pretty cute. Do you have a man that keeps you happy? Sure. I have 2,000 men who keep me happy. That was probably a terrible answer, but the fundamental difference between a secret and a lie is that secrets are still true and are usually only temporary, like a surprise party or something. People cannot change the bad things in the world, but people can change their ways, their jobs, taking care of business, going to college, moving to different states. Dan says, hello, sorry I'm late. Don't you worry. This is gonna take a while. My earliest memory is shortly before my fourth birthday. There were flashes before that, so yeah, seems accurate. Night seems to be accurate in this assessment. I don't remember if I made a video about this, but my earliest memory that I can recall is I was 4 and I was being driven to my daycare. And I remember that mom used to drive her bleh 1989 Corolla, and my teacher's name, we used to call her Grandma Miriam. And I don't remember any classmates whatsoever. I remember this one boy, and I want to say his name is Jonathan, but he used to wear glasses. He was kind of chubby. He was blonde. But other than that, I don't remember anything else. It's like a big flash. I remember that we used to sing in the mornings, but I don't remember any song whatsoever. And of course, I always remember that there was this huge window at the front of the building. And pretty much that area is where we used to hang out at. It's like a massive living room. And it was facing the street, and it happened to be facing the direction where the sun rises. So I always remember that orangey glow that, dawn has. So, yeah, but other than that, I cannot remember anything prior to that. Also, damn right, your hair is perfect. I appreciate it because this is the result of a week of incessant rain, and only today am I seeing the sun for the first time in a week. And I have not washed it since Saturday, last Saturday. You can retain earlier memories, but it's unusual. You guys ever hear stories of people who seem to remember their previous lives? Like there was this one boy who supposedly remembers that he was killed by someone, and then he had a scar on the spot in the head where supposedly he got killed by like an axe or something. And then there was a story of this older woman who was, I think she was just dying of natural causes. And then she told her daughter that she would like to return, but as a boy. And then the daughter ended up having a child that was a boy. And then before the lady died, they marked her with something with like white paint in the back of the neck, I think. And then when that baby boy was born, supposedly he had a birthmark with that same shape to the dead mom. So I don't want to say I don't believe in reincarnation, but stories like that, it's like I have to see it to believe it. But how do you even begin to track that down, you know? You know what I mean? But, anyways, let's see my questions. Does your name make you who you are? Um, on the note of names, I honestly think that some names, it's like my name doesn't really control who or what I am, you know? Like the original meaning of my name is supposed to be something about being a good Samaritan or Samaritan, like yeah, something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I think everyone is a good Samaritan. Like when you propose it to yourself, if you see someone in need and you help them, there you are, you're doing your good deed. So I do not live my life just randomly doing good deeds. It's like if I can do a good deed, I will do it. But I'm not seeking for places that need help actively, because realistically, when would I have time to have a life? You know what I mean? But you guys let me know if your name means anything to you. But there are people out there who, every time they see their name, they try to make this big deal about it. And I'm like, just chill out. It's just a label for me to respond to whenever it's called out. So if any of you guys go out there living your lives like, oh, my name means this and that, so I have to honor it, it's like, let me know what that's like because I will never know. Just, my name doesn't mean anything to me. In fact, I wish that I could change it so many times. There are so many names that I would love to have, but of course, I'm not going to go through the trouble of legally changing it because it really doesn't bother me like that anymore. But I just think it's crazy that there's people who really attach a lot of emotion to their name or to other people's names. It's like, can you calm down, please? Like, it's just a name, you know? Does everyone have the same rights as each other? Well, without getting too deep into politics, I think that depending on where you live, it's clear that you have equal rights. Like, we all know presently, there's this little, like, at least in the Western world, the imaginary conflict of rights and for some reason we keep fighting over equal rights even though we have them. So there are places that clearly have a culture with laws that make you different from, say, man and female, and the others are like social hierarchies, like, oh, if you're from the upper class then you have this and that, and you have to address me as such and such. Whereas here, no matter where you are at in the social hierarchy, you do not need to pay consequences if you do not really, um what is it, we don't need to pay tributes of any sort. Like, if I were to see someone who is like a celebrity, I don't need to be worshiping them, or I don't need to be addressing them any differently. Whereas there are cultures where you have to say someone's proper title in order to be deemed as respectful. Over here, it's like you can be walking down the street next to someone really famous and it doesn't matter. Like, the only thing that may happen is anyone who recognizes that famous person, they may flock over to where they are. But when you hear stories about celebrity encounters, it's not all that. I have personally met, let's see, face to face, one that I can vividly remember and I still occasionally see, but it's not like it changes my life. I just dealt with them in the same manner that I dealt with everyone else. So, so yeah, I think everyone does have the same rights if you particularly live in this country. So I'm gonna keep it at that. I'm not gonna get too complicated with that one. Let's see, what are the comments saying? Some crazy stuff. Kit from us could name people that were alive in Wales and describe the house he lived at. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, sounds right, yeah. Could be fake, but it was interesting. Exactly. How do you track down the legitimacy of that? Because it would be amazing if that stuff is true, but I just would not like that. Just no. Oh, are you a superhero? No. Nah, just your average person. But if you would like to deem me as a superhero, then sure. I like to think reincarnation is possible, not necessarily spiritually, but if we are to assume everything at some point is comprised of energy, which cannot be destroyed nor created, the makings of your consciousness have to go somewhere, maybe not necessarily in the same form. Well, in a sense, I think that your consciousness lives on based on the legacy that you left behind. And in case that doesn't make any sense, it's like while you are here in the planet, you are doing things. You are meeting people, creating memories, telling stories, building stuff. Everything has like your signature to it. Like, say, my journal, if it weren't for me writing it, it wouldn't exist. There, I have left a trace of my existence. It's not necessarily, what can I say? On the note of your consciousness, I want to say that just shuts down along with your body. But whatever, let's put it this way, whatever DNA came together to create you, you are able to process certain things because your code allows you to. So the opinions that you have on some things, it's like whatever it is that comprises you is going to make you susceptible to that. But of course, because we are all different, we can agree to some extent, but there's always going to be that small percentage of a difference where we're going to disagree on something. But in the grand scheme of things, I think that if it were not for your uniqueness, your pattern, certain things would not have been made possible. No matter how mundane, how, what is it, not unique you feel you are, you have contributed something that hasn't been contributed before. You just may not realize it. So because I believe in that so-called trace that I mentioned, that's what makes me believe that your consciousness is really not a big deal. Now, when it comes to your spirit, can you exist exactly the same way as another living being, like as another human? On that one, that's where it gets trippy for me. But I want to say that once I live this life, it's like my personality, my spirit can come back, but of course, not exactly the same. I was meant to look this way, sound this way, express myself in this manner, think this way for a reason. After I'm done, it's like I'm done, and a better version of myself shall come back, not exactly as myself, but as an improved version of myself. If that doesn't make sense, it's all right. I'm not trying to make sense because this is really an opinion, but I think that on that note, I wouldn't worry too much about what happens to your spirit. I think that if you happen to have another shot in life, you're going to be different because your surroundings are going to have something to do with it. The way that your body is, it's going to have something to do with it. Let's say that I return as a male. You know, my role is going to be different. My contributions are going to be different. My thought process is going to be different. So I think that whatever it is that I'm meant to contribute, I have to be this form to do it. And it's messy. It's kind of hard to put into words because you just cannot just open a book and have your answers, you know? Like, well, someone might say you can read the Bible, but how about independent thought, you know? So I don't have anything against the Bible, but there's just stuff that I cannot comprehend. So if I don't get it, why dwell on it? See what I mean? But anyways, let's catch up with more comments. The makings of a constant and unnecessary temper. Though I could just be fundamentally misunderstanding science, I think there is one superconscious that we are all attached to somehow. That makes a lot of sense because all of our abilities need to come from somewhere. Why is it that we are very similar to, like, have you ever met someone who you're like, wow, that is totally me? Oh, wow, I think the same thing. Oh my God, the same thing happens to me. So, do you not think that there's a connection there somewhere, somehow? Look us look at a study where they give potatoes to monkeys on islands to understand group consciousness. I have heard of that theory that we're all the same being in different parts of a life cycle. Or maybe if we were all meshed together into a form, it would be too inefficient to manifest itself. So, what I mean by that, it's like this humongous being had to split itself to be efficient. So, it needed to have many smaller versions of itself to account for the differences. It's like when you are, let's say that you're at your job and you're responsible for many things, but everything is happening at the same time. Do you ever not wish that you could just split yourself into 20 to address everything that's happening? So I think that this being had that situation. It's like I'm in charge of so many things, but I need to split my thoughts to be able to handle things more efficiently. And then that's how all of us just became what and who we are. Of course, I don't have a way of proving that. I'm just pulling that out of my hair strands. So don't mind me, but yeah, that's what I like to think. Hello, Zam and everyone. Hey, Jimmy. Not selling books, but the Urantia book goes into detail of what happens after we die. Super thought provoking. You know what? I've been meaning to look for a book that does that. Like just a source of information in general about how life after death, if there is one, has been observed or, documented. Let's see. What's the next question in this thing? And if you guys wonder where I'm reading from, in case you missed it, I have a link in the description. Let's see. What is imagination? Holy crap. You know what? I've never actually read a definition of an imagination, but we can all somehow deduce that imagination is pretty much this. The way I would define it is it's this movie that plays into your mind whenever your ideas are incarnating. It's like you may look at something and then you wander beyond what you see, beyond what you hear. Basically, anything that your senses cannot perceive instantly, your imagination and your mind just takes over. It's like an image in your mind, but it doesn't have to exist, and that's the beauty of it. But with it, you can create things. And if you didn't have an imagination, what would you do with your inspiration? Would you even have an inspiration without an imagination? Because to me, something that is inspiring is something that provokes me to create something or improve something, just invent things. So that's interesting. I want to cheat and Google the definition, but I'm not going to. I want to see how bad I did later, if I remember. Can you be kind to everyone? You know what? Absolutely. Because usually the people who are not easy to deal with, they're the ones who are actually starving for kindness, if you ask me. So, although the temptation is there to compete against their rage and prove a point, I don't think it's ever worth it. I like to just remain chill, calm, nice, sweet, collected. Because in the end, if I was the one who was messing up, I think all I would need is a patient person. So I think that kindness lets the other person know that it's not the end of the world because it doesn't have to be the end of the world. So just take it easy, be nice, and why not be kind to everyone? See what I mean? But of course, I have my instances in which if I trust someone a lot, um, it's not that I'm not kind, but I just like to tease people and sometimes try to like that trolling video that we made the other day, just trying to agitate someone. Something about it is just fun. It's not that I want to upset them to ruin their day, it's just that I like challenges. But me looking for a challenge shouldn't mean bringing someone else down. So, yeah, I think just be kind to everyone, even if they don't deserve it. Can computers think? I think computers can think, but not beyond what a human can think, because after all, it took a human to put the computer together. It took a human to assemble it. So I cannot think of a computer as a thing that can think for itself because the computer is only going to be as smart as the operator. So what can it do beyond our capacity? Maybe it can calculate things that I don't have the skill for, but another human had to have the skill to program the computer into being able to carry out that function. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I'll leave it at. Think of the group consciousness like you're an antenna and consciousness is the human channel. There could be all animals as well based on limited research. Hmm, that's nice. I love making ideas, invention is so much fun. I love kindness too. Do you believe that people can change of the wait, what? Do you believe that people can change of the hat ones did bad things in their life? Like truly change for the better? Oh, okay. I guess you mean once a person has been bad, can they become better people and change? I think that it is possible for a person to change and redeem themselves, but the problem I think is when can you tell that a person is being genuine? Because we know of cases where a person demonstrates some improvement, and honestly, it's more of a mimicked conduct to earn something out of you, but deep down the person has not changed. So, as someone who has met people who have had genuine deep, like genuine deep regret for things that have happened in the past, I do think it's possible, because it's all a matter of what do you do when you do your bad things. Do you learn from it and commit to never doing it again? Or do you have this recurring pattern of you messing up in the same manner but with a different look to it? So to better explain that, let's pick people who get in trouble for things that they say. Let's say here on YouTube, let's say that there's a creator that says something really fucked up, and then they claim that they are owning it, but then in the future, once again, they say the very thing that landed them in hot water again. Clearly, they haven't learned their lesson. So that is an example of someone who has not changed. Um, or it can also be you do something and you are aware that it is wrong, but you decide to defend it so that in the future it can seem justified when you repeat the mistake, which you know you are bound to repeat. See what I mean? So, someone to me genuinely changes once they commit and succeed at not repeating something that landed them in that bad situation. See what I mean? Does that make sense? The human brain is smarter than computers and animals. I believe people can change. God have anybody. Emery, have you ever thought of ideas of invention? I know you're a genius. Um, there is something that I thought about, but apparently it has been someone tried to like patent it, but for some reason it didn't happen. And it is those of us who are athletic and at some point our shoulders and lats grow to the point that we cannot touch our backs, there needs to be this towel that you can put suction cups in, put it in your shower, and then give it like the texture of Velcro, but of course not as rough. And then you can rub your back against it and it can exfoliate your back. Since we do not always live with someone to do that for us, so I think there needs to be that something that looks like a curtain that you can attach to a wall and then you just sort of like rub against it and get rid of all that dark stuff that forms in your skin, like basically blackheads and your pores being clogged from a lack of exfoliation. But that's something that is not quite out there yet that I'm aware. Maybe a crazy website like Amazon may have it and I just don't know the name of it. But when I looked into it, this was years ago. Apparently, someone tried to patent such a thing, but it couldn't happen for some reason. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I have thought of that if I could invent, I would definitely invent. And it's not even that I have a difficult time using like the scrubbing brush or anything. It's just that I would like to take care of a big area at a faster rate. Because when you use that little like giant toothbrush looking thing, I don't know. I feel like there are areas where I cannot apply as best of like as much pressure as if I were grinding my back against this thing. See what I mean? So for me, the motion of like brushing my back is awkward. Like not everyone has their arms designed to do that. Um, yeah, I have had other things along the way that I have thought about. Ooh, what if we could have this and that? But it's been a while. But my most recent idea was that one, like this back scrubbing thing. It's probably not even that necessary, but for me, It's like I imagine putting gel on it, like shower gel on it, and then it would create a lather that holds more efficiently than depending on the brush to do it. See what I mean? That's the difference. Because by the time that I put the brush on my back, some of the lather may have fallen um to the floor. So, but yeah, if I have any more ideas, I'll just voice them since I'm not planning on doing anything with them. I could probably turn them into businesses, but y'all know me. I don't have a business mindset. Maybe I should, but I just cannot. Is it possible to always be good and never bad? No, because we all know that there are bad things and bad things have consequences. But everyone will do something bad at some point, no matter what. No matter how hard you try to be perfect at something, you will mess up. Just don't worry about it. Are sweets better than vegetables? Well, when it comes to nutrition, no. You do not need excess sugar, and you definitely should not have a sugar based diet, sweet based diet. But when it comes to enjoyment and pleasure, yes, yes. Are we dreaming right now? You know what? I have thought about that. But if we are dreaming right now, how is it possible to have a dream within a dream when we go to bed? That just doesn't seem possible to me. And if it's possible, I cannot comprehend it. What's the most important thing in life? Well, there goes that question. Again, it varies from person to person, but if I had to give my own personal answer, I think the most important thing is your health. Because if you were to say, oh, I want to have a good marriage, I want to be a good parent to my children, if you're not healthy, you cannot do anything. I want to have a lot of money and financial security, be the best at my job. If you don't have your health, you cannot do anything. I want to be the best athlete. If you don't have your health, you cannot do anything. So, yeah, I think that's the most important thing in life. Should you get rewards for doing well in school? See, I think that the whole reason you go to school is so that you can reap rewards in the future. Because if you remain an ignorant human, you will not enjoy life to the fullest. Now, what does it mean to enjoy life to the fullest? That's totally up to you. But I think that doing well in school is rewarding automatically, but we just do not perceive it in that manner while we are in school because we are young and we're not thinking about that. But when I think about how I wish I could go back to school and the reasons why, I'm like, yeah, doing well in school on its own is the reward. It's pretty rewarding. So you guys let me know if you agree or disagree with that one. Should everyone have to give to charity? That's an interesting question. See, the thing of it is that when you do something nice for someone, say if you give someone lunch because they don't have enough money or they forgot their money, isn't that an act of charity? Isn't charity something that you do to help others? So I think we are all our own personal charity. Like for me, sometimes I get sad that I don't have enough money for candy or leggings. And then I know that there's someone out there who wants to spoil the crap out of me, getting me those things. Why isn't that considered a charity? I know that a charity is more about improving people's lives. Like there's a legit necessity. Like there's hunger, someone's home got torn down by a hurricane, stuff like that. But I think that you being a giver is already an act of charity. So to deposit a certain value, that I guess is what makes it a big deal. But I don't think that you can oblige people to be givers because we don't all have our resources to be able to give when we sometimes need stuff. Like, say, the people who benefit from charities themselves, do you expect them to be giving back when they themselves need to be receiving aid? So I want to say no. And it's not that not giving to charity is mean. It's just that when you can do it, you do it. When you cannot do it, you cannot do it. So, but anyways, it's interesting, but at a glance, that's my answer. Let's see, where am I at? Well, I love it. That's billions of dollars. I love your ideas. I love it when people thinking. Wait, when people think about ideas, it makes a person's mind so healthy of exercise. Yeah, definitely. Thinking is such a healthy exercise for the mind. Yep. The most important thing in life is God. That's really it. And having money, being healthy, help others to protect yourself. You will go back to school. If they did it, wouldn't be called charity, it would be tax. Seems fair. I don't mind to help people, I just hate being used, not getting nothing in return, just that people will take kindness as weakness. Or take it for granted. Because, what can I say? You don't know the value of something until you don't have it anymore. So, any program that gets cut, for instance, there was the scholarship that could have allowed me to have a full ride for college to become a teacher had the program not been cut. So I'm like, well, that's a bummer. But is that scholarship a charity when the government gives it? Definitely not. So, yeah, yeah, it's tricky. It's just that on the note of charity, it costs something. So you are just facilitating someone's access to a resource. But I think the best work of charity would be for the suppliers of stuff to directly give to those places. See what I mean? So whoever manufactures towels, they should just send them straight to those places in needs, as opposed to needing the middleman to supply it, like buy it, so that the other person can get it. See what I mean? I don't mind to help people. Okay, that's what I just read. I think knowledge is its own reward, but I didn't think that while I was in school. So while I don't think it's necessary to reward doing well, it might be more practical to get better results. Absolutely. That's called incentives. You will do your best at something when you are incentivized. Like, why do I need to do well in school? Oh, because mom is going to take me to the movies on the weekend and buy pizza, or she's going to buy me this one toy that I want. So, of course. But the problem with that is that if you do well in school to reap a reward, are you retaining what you are learning? That's not called learning. That's just like bottling things up for you to take a test, pass, show it to your mom, show the results to your parents, and then you get your reward, but your skill is getting lost. See what I mean? So, in a sense, I think it's a good thing that school doesn't reward you like that, because it can it can create a bad habit. We need to practice being able to learn and retain things. Um, so hopefully that makes sense. I don't expect it to make sense, but when I think about it, I'm like, I'm glad that school doesn't function like that. You need to be taught the value of education, period. Because when you think about it, there's some stuff in life that you're going to have to do that's going to be difficult, and you're not going to get rewarded for it. So, are you just going to sit there and whine and throw tantrums? Probably not. So, let's not get kids accustomed to, like, what is it? Details and rewards that really are not worth it in the end. Because are you going to keep your toys when you turn like 40 years old? No. So we need to teach kids better values, put it that way. uh let's see. Is playing games better than working hard? That's weird. Playing games is better than working hard. No, because when you play games, you never train your mind to become strong. So you need to be assigned difficult things to work through so that later on you can handle it. Because if you're constantly just playing games, games are entertainment, a distraction, a form of, I guess it can also be a form of stress management. But basically, you need to balance that. Because if you focus on either one of those, you're going to be miserable. Playing games will make you not develop yourself to handle difficult things, whereas working hard all the time is going to make you tired and frustrated and miserable and bored at some point. So I think on that note, we just need a balance. What makes something true? Something that can be proven as definite, something that is pretty much unquestionable, something that leaves no room for doubt. Are girls smarter than boys? Boys are good at some things, girls are good at some things, boys will do better on some things, girls will do better at other things. Again, it's a balance. So, on that one, I would say neither. Because when I think about it, there is stuff that boys will perform better at when it comes to thinking than girls. It's just our natural difference. Are boys stronger than girls? Well, on that one, I want to say that boys, given that they are typically bigger than girls and that tend to be more physically active than girls and tend to have more energy than girls and they tend to build more things and do more hard labor physically than girls, then yes, they tend to have a better resistance, better stamina. Yes, I think so. But there is stuff that, if I think about physically, guys always have the edge. But when it comes to other things, like processing certain events that I, for some reason, cannot name, I think girls can be stronger mentally on some things. But honestly, it's so difficult for me to name an example of what makes me say that. Because my personal issue is that I have not had an exposure to a man for a significant period of time to know what their brain handles things as. So I want to think that the difficult things that I know how to handle are exclusive to me because of my gender or sex. But when I think about it, I cannot make that statement when I do not know how a male would perform in that situation. Um, so yeah, I'll have to think about that one and come back to it. But physically, definitely, without a doubt, we do not need to be trying to implement girls to compete against males in sports to prove a point. There are certain males who may not develop as well physically, and therefore, a female who does develop herself pretty physically can probably beat the guy. But more often than not, the guy is just stronger. It's natural. Is it possible to lie to yourself? No, because you know the truth deep down. Can you be delusional? Yes. Can you be what can I say? Um just hopelessly trying to convince yourself to the contrary? Yes, but it doesn't change the fact. So the only way you lie to yourself is if you decide to forget the truth, if that makes sense. Um, let's see. I'm almost done with this, so I'm gonna try to breeze through it. Can we think about nothing? You know what? For me personally, no, because I cannot ever shut my mind up. I always have something to think about, a topic in my mind, even before going to bed, even after I have gone to bed. I do not know how I am able to fall asleep with so many thoughts in my head, but I'm so grateful that I can. But what is nothingness? If you think, oh, nothingness is just vastness, absence of things, what does it look like for things to be absent? You probably might say it's like a black screen. Well, what composes the black screen? Nothingness cannot be just nothingness. There has to be something lurking there. But at least I cannot think of what nothingness looks like, if that makes sense. Let me catch up with the comments before I get too far of myself. Uh, Taking a test and forgetting the material immediately is most of what the kids at my school did, to be fair. Honestly, at my school, same thing happened. Okay, the games and work thing, games are good, but well, yeah, as I was typing, you said it. You need to balance that. You enjoy time off if you actually have time on. Making puzzle makes your mind good. Videos are fun, but not learning nothing. And men brains, women brains have the same brain, and men are stronger than women. The way men can cannot hit on women. Nice hair. Ugh, I appreciate that. My hair is making me famous today. And good God, it got dark already. I thought about turning on my lamp, but I got lazy. Zemri, do you ever want to live in the 70s, like a year, or being grown in the 90s to see how it feels? I have thought about that before, and honestly, I'm okay with belonging to the decade that I belong to. So, because times are just gone, I don't dwell on the past like that. I do tend to be curious about what life was like before all this technology that affects us nowadays, but because I don't know anything outside of this, then no. Like at least my mother has seen stuff change. It's like advancements seem to have proliferated during her adult years, so she has been able to see all of these transitions. Whereas by the time I arrived, a lot of this stuff was just existing already. So I cannot imagine or think any differently outside of what I know now. Um, are you the same person that you were when you were born? Of course not. I am bigger, I am stronger, I am louder, I have a bigger appetite, I have more of an attitude, I am definitely much more profane, like unacceptably so. But I know what it's asking. But honestly, I feel like at the core, I'm all right, pretty consistent. But I feel like my character has definitely evolved for the better because I used to be someone who did not share a lot, and now I definitely seem to take care of other people's needs before my own. but yeah, I have definitely changed. Like some stuff about me will never change, but you know, with aging, maturity happens, so you just cannot avoid that. Should we always listen to each other's opinion? Yes, because someone else's opinion may influence you into improving your own, or your opinion may help the other person improve their lives. Because when you think about it, you may not know about certain people and what they think unless they express it. And we all at some point have met someone who has probably told us, not probably, but who has told us that because they listened to what we had to say, they have considered some stuff. Like even I say it sometimes. One of you may leave a comment saying something, asking me something to where I go, oh, I never thought about that before. I'm so glad you mentioned it. Yeah, this and that. So, of course, it's important to listen to others' opinions. You do not need for them to govern you, but sometimes other people's opinions are going to be better than yours. And that is just the way things are. And because of opinions, some things have been invented, implemented, made. Why would voting even be a thing? You know, even though sometimes it doesn't really do what it needs to do. Is it wrong to criticize another person's opinion? Well, you can criticize anything, anybody, anytime. Just do not lose respect. Like, I only disagree with being criticized if I'm being disrespected. So, yeah, I definitely love it when people challenge me. Criticizing is someone disagrees, and it's an opportunity for you to either expand on your belief or improve it, or simply be like, you know what, I'm wrong. So, just change. If we all think something is true, does that mean it is true? No. No, because you guys ever hear me say that I like to go in the opposite direction to where the crowd goes, except during a fire? Well, it's just that just because a huge number of people consider something doesn't make it true. It's just not how things work. It's like you ever participate in some kind of group activity and you seem to be the only person with a certain thought or a certain opinion, and then you look around, no one is like you, and you wonder, am I normal? Is there something wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. So I think that on that note, something being popular doesn't make it right. So that's as best as I can put it. Yeah, you may be convinced that you are in the right direction, headed in the right direction. But to think that a number of people agreeing with something is what makes it right, that's just wrong. It takes more than that. There's more to it than that. What makes you who you are? Attitude, uh, habits, interests. Uh, shoot, I don't like questions like that because they're vague, but at the same time, you can have such a broad answer. And I'm so simplistic. um, Definitely my diet, because when I eat really bad, I feel like shit. And when I feel like shit, I'm unbearable to hang out around. Like, all I want is to be like a puppy where I just lay on my back and someone just rubs my belly. um, But yeah, I think that the people who surround me also make me who I am. Because if you surround yourself by nothing but negative people, eventually you yourself will become a negative person. Unless you have an incredibly strong will to not turn into a negative person. But see, that's a little different from the preceding question. Because a huge number of people trying to impose things on you is possible, but to make something that's not true true just because a lot of people get behind it, no. So you can succumb to changes via indirect means, but you cannot just change the reality of something to suit you just because you gathered a huge number of people to get behind it. That's what I'm trying to say. um let's see, I have like two more questions left. What does a newborn baby think about? You know what? I have thought about that so many times. I think that during that stage, all that the newborn baby can think about is its survival. It'll start crying because it needs oxygen. It'll start crying because it needs to be fed. It will start crying because it's probably cold. Or well, they don't open their eyes until a while later. I was going to say maybe the light is burning their sight or something. But I think the newborn baby always thinks about its survival. Every single living being, all we're doing is the stuff we do is to ensure our survival. So I don't think that your age really impacts that. Now, do you think about it to the level of complexity that an adult can? Of course not, because you don't even realize that you have your needs, except for the discomfort that you're experiencing and that your body is wired to generate some kind of a response to alert a better capable, suitable individual, your mother, your father, to take care of your needs. So it's like nature's fail safe way of ensuring that your defenseless self makes it and has a chance at living. Let's see. The last question says, what makes a good friend? And I was thinking, did I not just answer that in the very beginning? But the first question was, how can you tell that someone is really your friend? And this one is, what makes a good friend? So it's really not that different from that first question. So, what makes a good friend would be you respect people's time, you have genuine concern for them, you help, you share, you respect, things like that. So, I'm not really gonna dwell on that one. Let's see, where am I at? Yes, my mother is a baby boomer. Zamri, I believe you're gonna have 1 million, 100 million views on your channel worldwide. Um, that is a big number. I would be pretty impressed if I did get there. It would be a pretty scary thought, actually, now that I think about it. I'll never forget when I got my first 100,000. I'm like, what? How did that happen? And why? Everyone believed the world was flat at one time. That didn't work out so well. Absolutely. Did I do a flat earth video? I believe I did. If I didn't, I definitely need to get on it. But I feel like I did because I feel like I remember talking about the what's that word? Firmament. Like the shape to it. What makes a good friend is being there for someone good times and bad times, being unselfish. Yep, definitely. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure, but I need to bail because I need to get ready to go continue with my evening, go to the gym, and all that mess. So, I also need to grab a quick snack before I go over there and pass out from not having anything on my stomach since like 12. So, yeah, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me. This was particularly interesting and fun and thought provoking. So I hope you guys have a good one and have a good evening. I should be here tomorrow without any excuses. So I will definitely commit to being here because I know I can make it. All right, guys.